All right, welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and got a really inspiring story to share with you. We have Anthony and Vicky Colantono. Great mission, great ministry. Good morning, Anthony and Vicky.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to have you. I've got a question for you before we start anything. Are you ready for Lent?
We are.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I
feel
so.
like I feel like I've been so much helping other people like share different things you can do for Lent that I really haven't focused on myself. So I've got some work to do before tomorrow. But anyways, it's so good to have you both on. I mentioned before the break, you have a beautiful ministry that started in honor of your daughter. Now, for those who have never been to your website, maybe give us a quick overview of the whole story behind the inspirational story behind how we're now trying to get the whole world to pray the Rosary.
Absolutely. So again, thanks for having us on. It really started back in May of last year. I said it was a Holy Spirit moment. Woke up one night. It was like 3 a.m. Came down to my office and just started writing stuff down. And an hour later, it was like a roadmap to the idea of a traveling rosary. So I've been making rosaries for the last couple of years. I just find peace in doing that. And something came about and it took off. The idea came into my head and I just ran with it.
Yeah. So why the Rosary?
I've been praying it for a while, ever since our daughter Silvana's accident. I was looking for something to bring me peace, and I found peace in that. I really did.
Yeah. We started repairing rosaries just for friends that broke down or whatever, and he just gravitated to why not just start making them, and it just took off. It's been incredible.
Yeah. And from your websites, Silvana is essentially the driving force behind this Rosary Chain. So how does it all work? So you make rosaries and then you send them to people. How does that all work?
So what I do is, so I make the rosaries and I'll hold one up. So basically we came up with a packet that when we send our rosaries out, it's just like 5 instructions. Pray the rosary. So what I do is I pray the rosary first, put it into the packet, and then the instructions are pray the rosary. And on the rosary, I have a QR code.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see that. I have a QR code attached to the rosary, and that will be able you can scan the QR code, and then that's where you can put your location in. I do name every rosary. So this one might be St. Joseph. So everyone's a saint right now. That way I can track where these rosaries go. So once they scan it, and then they could we call it pray it forward. They pass it to someone else, and it just travels from person to person. We had a few start here, ended up going to Mexico City, the Guadalupe Basilica, and now it's on its way to somewhere in Africa. They gave it to a nun, and she's moving to Africa. And it's amazing how it just spreads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just to inspire people to pray, to travel it around the globe. So it's a great mission because it's helping people get back to praying and spreading it as much as we can throughout, the whole globe.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the pray it forward play on words because, like you said, we need to pray the Rosary. I mean, that's as simple as that. And now we have just like one little bit of motivation to do so. And so I guess a question for you, so you track through the QR code for the Rosary. So that way people can get the Rosary and pray the Rosary. I guess another question for you would be maybe tell us a little bit more about Silvana, the one who is kind of the driving force behind this Rosary Chain.
So we have 3 daughters. She's our oldest of 3.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to Ohio State University. And during COVID, it was a lot of back and forth, doing schooling from home on Zoom. Mm-hmm. But she, that particular morning, it was Tuesday, February 2nd, she insisted she had to go in person to this class, which it's 2 hours away from her house. And I said, you know what, take your time. It was actually a nice day. There was no bad weather, nothing. And I said, take your time. Um, and I wanted her to just say, just do it on Zoom. Like, why do you have to go? Why is this teacher insisting? But there was construction and there was a detour. And so she ended up taking a route unfamiliar to her and ended up getting into a car accident and did not survive it. It was an instant. She was gone. So when we got the call, I mean, as you can tell, pure devastation. And we're driving 2 hours away. I mean, our whole life just completely was shattered, crumbled. We have two other daughters at the time. They're in school. I'm like, it's just, it's one of those things where you're in a crossroad. Like, why is this happening? And I specifically went through, why is God doing this? Questioning God and being angry. And we do have a center here that helps with grieving, thank goodness. And we went through counseling for 2 years with a grief counselor. And thank goodness this woman was Catholic, because it's one of those things where you either get stronger in your faith or it really kind of just pushes you in a different direction. And as I'm questioning and pondering and wondering, Anthony just ran to church and ran to doing the rosary. And we were lukewarm Catholics, to be quite honest with you. And he just went in a really strong direction. And I looked at him thinking, how can you do this? It took me a minute to get there. Um,
Yeah.
but my goal, our goal is to get to heaven to see her. And we want to make sure our other two girls get there as well as everyone that we love. So our mission now is just helping people get to heaven, helping people pray, helping people get closer to God.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think the rosary is the most beautiful way to do that. I lean into Mary a lot because she watched her son suffer and die on the cross. So she's my inspiration.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having her, Savannah, motivate us, or you really, and just everybody that are going to be participating in this to bring as many souls to heaven is really, I mean, that's a goal any Catholic should be. But, for you to take a tragedy and move in a positive direction as far as making sure people get to heaven is an incredible testament to you both. So thank you for inspiring everybody who's listening. Does grief make Lent harder for you or easier to get through?
Oh,
Good question.
it's a good question. It's both. I think it depends on the day. But in some ways I find comfort in it. And quite honestly, I say this all the time. I feel like our daughter is more alive today than she was when she was physically here. So I really kind of lean into that a lot more. And I I don't think of death as a negative thing like I used to maybe. Now it's more of a positive for me, and I'm just happy to be able to see her soon. I just feel like this is a temporary moment. And so I don't make death super heavy and hard. But what Jesus went through is super heavy and hard. And as humans, we go through a lot of trials and suffering. But I know what the reward is at the end. So I see that light at the end of the tunnel for sure. At least for me. I don't
For
know.
sure. No, and what it does for me is, the day she passed away was the presentation in temple. So, the feast. There's a lot of just things that connect us to her, and I have a big devotion to the Stations of the Cross. I felt like I kind of went through it, or we went through it as well. So with Lent, that's more where I focus on Rosary and the Stations of the Cross. Walk the journey with Jesus.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
What could you tell other parents that are going through the same thing or have gone through the same thing that maybe didn't take up the path that you took? What would you recommend for them as far as getting through these types of moments?
Well, there's hope for sure. There's hope, but you need to talk to someone. At first I didn't think I needed to talk to anybody. And at Cornerstone of Hope, the grieving center we have here, they paired me up with someone that we just didn't quite connect with. And then I ended up with Vicky's counselor, and within the first 20 minutes of talking with her, it was like she gently took a 10,000-pound backpack off of me. And, that's when I knew I was on the road to, something. Get the help.
Yeah.
Get the help.
I think hope is the most important. I was searching for hope. I was looking at other parents who lost children, like, what can you tell me? It's hard because it's a journey you have to go through, and there's no recipe for it, but there is hope. And I just always tell people, you've got to think of the big picture and lean into that, and focus on, there is something good that comes out of tragedy. And I hate the fact that we have to have a tragedy. But if you look for it, it will appear. You have to open yourself up to it, though. You just have to. And stay close to God, stay close to Mary, and they will show you the way. Somehow you find comfort from them. You get graces.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, how can we, in general, participate in this Rosary Chain? Where can we go to pass this message along in the Rosary?
For sure. So it's rosarychain.org.
Okay.
And at the top, if somebody wanted to start a Rosary Chain, it's a request to start a Rosary Chain link. So you just fill out some information. It'll email it to me, and I'll send a rosary out. So everyone keeps asking, can I buy your rosaries? And my rosaries are not for sale. I will not sell a rosary, but I'll give a rosary. So that's just the way you do it. So rosarychain.org.
And be able to
they're
pray
beautiful
forward.
rosaries.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the website. Anthony, incredible work on your rosaries. They look substantial.
Yeah, they really evolved from something to from nothing to something. So, and I think the problem I'm having is because it's a little slow roll right now. I think a lot of people are just holding on to them. They're not passing or praying them forward. So maybe I should just went with plastic ones. Who knows?
You made them too good, Anthony. You made them too good. You got to take the quality down a notch. No, I'm just kidding. Feel free to stay with us in the after show clubhouse, Anthony and Vicky, and you too, listener. Otherwise, if you're going to be listening to Mass after the show, please, please, please pray for us. And we are looking forward to spending the entirety of Lent with you as we go through this journey towards holiness. If you're not going to be on the after show clubhouse, God bless and make it a joyful day. We'll see you then. Take care.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.